Assalamu alaikum rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome back to the Deen Seekers, guys. Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh Abu Osama. How you
Wa
doing?
alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Maghfiratu, alhamdulillah. I'm doing well. Irfan, good to see you again.
Glad to have you here, Sheikh.
Ahlan.
Inshallah, you're feeling well. So today we're going to be talking about a very relevant situation. So, on social media, we constantly be showing headlines, articles about celebrities, and they have a serious influence on younger people. You get led by these people, you think they're speaking right. So this alone in itself is a dangerous issue. We should try and refrain from absorbing this kind of information. However, in these examples, I think it's beneficial for us to discuss it as they allow for a larger discussion. So I'd like to start off by speaking about a very prominent figure in mainstream media who's known for his controversial remarks, and that's Kanye West. The reason this situation is worth mentioning is it calls for a discussion regarding mental health, the dangers of being under the influence, and the double standards of the media. So Sheikh, just to clarify from the get-go, what are the dangers of people looking up to Kanye West as some kind of idol and role model? Because he does speak some truth, but what are the dangers of it?
Bismillah, alhamdulillah. First of all, there is a hadith. It's not authentic. It didn't come from the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, but the meaning of it is true. And that hadith says that the haqq, the truth, is the property of the believer. Wherever he finds the truth, he takes it. He has more right than anyone else to take it. So if the truth came from someone who was younger, from someone who was non-Muslim, from someone who even has some mental health issues, the Muslim is not going to reject the truth because of the one who's bringing the truth to him. He has to take the truth because the property of the believer. So in regards to the celebrities, no matter who they happen to be, we have to listen and look at things with a filter. We should take the Nabi of Islam, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, as the one who was the undisputed authority, who brought the Quran, sanctioned by Allah Azza wa Jalla, sent by Allah the Most High. So anything and everything that he says is what we make uppermost. That's the filter. So the Prophet even told his companion, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said, talk about what you hear from, he said, if the Ahlul Kitab, Jews and Christians, if they tell you something, don't believe it and don't disbelieve it. You have to weigh it. You have to weigh what they're saying. Don't just believe it because they said it, and you don't reject it because they said it. An example of that is Adam. The Jews and the Christians believe that Adam was the first human being, and Allah created his mate Hawa from his rib. We believe that because it's supporting our religion. No problem. But then the Christians, they believe that, the Adam's apple was an apple tree that Eve went to Adam with. We don't disbelieve that, and we don't believe it because our religion didn't say any of that. The Christians say that Jesus is the son of Allah. That's what they say. We're going to reject that because the religion of Islam said it's not true. So we have to look at everybody, celebrities, Muslims, non-Muslims, the news. And we have to look at everything and judge it with filters. What did Allah say about it? What did the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said about it? And if Allah was quiet about it in the Quran and Rasulullah never said anything about it, and we don't have anything from our religion to support it or to go against it, we say Allah knows best. It's as simple as that. So this thing that people have where they're super impressed with celebrities, I just think that is part of what society is right now. The Prophet of Islam used to make dua, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, used to say, oh Allah, strengthen al-Islam with one of the two Umars, bi ahad Umarain. Strengthen Islam with Amr ibn Hisham, who was Abu Jahl, or with Umar ibn al-Khattab, because if one of the two of them came into Islam, then it's going to help the community at that time, especially when they were in Mecca, hostile environment. So Rasulullah saw the importance of how people in the limelight can have a positive effect and impact on people. When he conquered Mecca, he told the people, anyone from the non-Muslims who didn't accept Islam, If you go to the outskirts of Mecca, you'll be safe. Anyone who goes to the sacred precincts of Mecca, of the Kaaba, you'll be safe. Anyone who goes into the home of Abu Sufyan, you'll be safe. Abu Sufyan was a non-Muslim, but he was powerful. So we understand like these celebrities and the effect and the role that they play in the minds and the hearts of people. But as Muslims, we take the Nabi of Islam as the perfect example. And that's what Allah said in the Quran. You have in the Messenger of Allah a perfect example for the one who believes in Allah and the last day.
Then getting more specific then, Sheikh, in his situation, he's been saying some reckless things. So it's easy for people to label him as crazy. But, I've heard you mention it before, as we as Muslims know that people who are in them positions may have different objectives. They may be trying to do this stuff just to get more publicity or stuff like that. But how would you look at this and assume, how would you even judge that, Sheikh? Would you assume he's a man that needs some help, or what? How would you look at it?
I think it's publicly documented that he suffers from bipolar, and bipolar is one of those severe mental health conditions that people have. And today and yesterday and in the future, inshallah, it's not acceptable to be dismissive as a society concerning mental health issues. But at the same time, we have to be balanced. People are always trying to be super duper politically correct, and that also opens up the doors for problems. So it's easy to say he's behaving like that because of his mental health issues, his bipolar. I'm not an expert. What are the characteristics of someone who's having a meltdown as a result of those issues? I'm not a psychiatrist. I'm not a psychologist. But it would be very easy to dismiss everything and to put it at, oh, he's just crazy. I don't think that's right, because for the most part, a lot of people are suffering from mental health disorders and challenges. And that's what the Prophet prophesied, sallallahu alaihi wa ala alihi wasallam. He said that a lot of people doing the closer to Yawmul Qiyamah, one of the signs of Yawmul Qiyamah is people are going to, the majority of the people are going to have, they're going to not have their minds. They're going to have mental health issues. And they vary from severe to minor or moderate and everything in between. So I would say that it seems like something's wrong with them, but you can never tell. Some of these people, they have these principles when it comes to making money, like all news is good news. No bad news is, all news is good news. As long as you are in the media, whether people are talking positively about you or negatively, some of them see that as, an opportunity and a springboard for making money. So I'm not here to say, I'm a conspiracy theorist. He knows what he's doing. It's all calculated and meditated. I don't know about all of that. I just know we shouldn't dismiss people who have mental health issues, disorders. It's not nice. And some of us have loved ones who are close to us, and we are close to our loved ones where we're suffering and they're suffering, or we're suffering or they're suffering. So if we want to solve the problem and know how to deal with people, we shouldn't be dismissive. It's a problem.
So you're saying that we shouldn't be dismissive. So with Kanye West in specific, in the past, he has made remarks or done certain things that has usually been dismissed by big establishments. I mean, the people have obviously spoken out against him, but at some points he's made remarks such as slavery was a choice. And even more recently, he's made a statement that white lives matter. And obviously that can be linked to the extremist white supremacist group in America. So that obviously has its bad image, but he never really faced any serious repercussions. He only had bad publicity. He wasn't cut off from anybody, anything like that. But more recently, as we know, Sheikh, he's made remarks about a specific group. And he's had serious backfire from this, though, as he's lost his major brand deals. He's been dropped by his lawyer. He's been cut off from a bank called JP Morgan Chase. And he's even being banned from Instagram and Twitter. So I think this clearly shows us the imbalance by which these establishments operate. What do you think of that, Sheikh?
Well, as it relates to his move to wear the White Matters shirt along with Candace Owens, I think is important because I've mentioned that mantra a number of times, and I've received criticism and flack from people who I respect their point of view, but perchance they didn't understand. I still say Black Lives Matter, but that shouldn't be understood to imply or to mean by any stretch of the imagination that other lives don't matter. By default, as a Muslim, all lives matter. So we have in our religion, من أجل ذلك كتبنا على بني إسرائيل. Because of that, we wrote and prescribed on Bani Israel that anyone من قتل نفسا بغير نفس فكأنما قتل الناس جميعا. Anyone who kills any soul unjustly is as if he killed all of mankind. And anyone who saves a soul, saves a life, will be as if he saved all of mankind. So all lives matter in Islam. And Islam came, and we did a podcast on this to protect the 5 essentials, to protect the lives of people. So spilling people's blood in Islam is a major sin. So all lives matter. But when it is said Black Lives Matter, we're talking about how Black people are policed in America, the way they police us. Black Lives Matter, meaning that there are white paramilitary police officers who have been unleashed in our community and on our community that go out with the sole purpose of killing Black people. We don't have the African American police being unleashed in white neighborhoods doing the same thing. You don't see that. In the judiciary system, when we stand before the judge in the court of law and our so-called peers of 9 people on the jury, they don't look at us and we don't get the same rights as white people and so forth, so on. That's the meaning of Black Lives Matter. No one's here to dismiss the lives of other people. I go a step further and say even the life of a dog matters in Islam. The Prophet says, sallallahu alaihi wa ala alihi wasallam, you shouldn't just take an animal for target practice and just kill him, because every life matters. Allah created every life to worship him and to make the dhikr and glorification of him. So that's the first issue about Black Lives Matter. Second issue, as it relates to the thing, and I'm glad you brought that up, is that, you know, hip hop music and a lot of Asian Muslims, a lot of our youth are plugged into this hip hop. It's a multi-billion-dollar business. It's the only genre of music that allows people to glorify killing people, killing Black people. You know, drill music, all of this music coming out of Chirac, Chicago, all of this music that glorifies killing each other. The African American woman, just look at, you know, the way she's spoken about. Use, you know, the words that they use to describe her. She's just a sex object. She's a bee and all of this stuff. There's no other music that they allow to talk about people like that. So for years, this has been going on, and people made a lot of money doing this, and they continue to make money, and it's part of the landscape. That's just it. It's part of the social landscape that we live in. I even saw and heard with my own ears people calling each other, "What's up, nigga?" And it was 2 Pakistani guys calling, "Well, yo, what's up, nigga?" And they were young brothers. And this is something that is normal. And the normality of it is distressing. So when Kanye West started to talk about a segment of the community and he brought their name out and he said what he said, he suddenly fell from being a billionaire now to being worth $500 million. All right, he's not a billionaire anymore. $500 million is still a lot of money, but what does it have to do with the price of peanuts as it relates to my life? I'm running around trying to figure out how much he's worth and how much he's not worth. Maybe he's going to recoup all of that money and make more. I don't know. But the point is, we need to look at and pay attention to the glaring contradiction. That's what it means. Black Lives Matter. When that man said that slavery was a choice, we didn't see the dunya jumping up and down like that. We didn't see that in his music, in which he's glorifying, you know, all of the negativity that we don't see anybody jumping up and down, calling to, you know, to shut him down, because African Americans, we have, you know, the way the whole industry and the government and the police, the way they look at that is a bit different. Now, I have to say this because I'm not one of those people who just want to bend over and rely on the crutch of racism. No, it goes to show that African Americans, we need to get ourselves together. We need to get, you know, organized. We need to get, you know, the religion of Islam. which will be the answer to help us. But then Muslims as well, we also, same thing, because these double standards happen with us. If someone in Ukraine, for an example, wants to go to Ukraine in order to help the Ukrainians fight against the Russian, then that's going to be looked at as being a heroic effort. But if a Muslim wants to go and he wants to help his Muslim brothers in some part of the world, like in Kashmir or something like that, then he's going to be looked at as being an extremist and from ISIS. Those are the double standards. So just like the African American minority group, Muslims are also a minority group, and we also have to get our program together so that these types of issues don't happen to us. So that's a glaring lesson that we get from this whole process with this fitna of Kanye West.
I mean, just to ask you again then, Sheikh, you remember the part where he started speaking about that specific community? That leads me to the point of, he got cancelled by Instagram and Twitter. Like, his account got banned. Essentially, his voice got taken away. Whereas in the past, he could have said anything he wanted and his platform was still there. He could have kept tweeting and tweeting and tweeting. However, now that he said it about the community, his voice has been taken away. He can't get interviews. His stadium shows have been cancelled. How do you feel about that, Sheikh?
The same way. I remember reposting. I posted something that I saw somewhere. I don't even remember exactly what the topic was, but there's a brother from Canada, brother Wasim. May Allah divinely protect him. He posted something. I don't even remember what it was, but it was connected to that particular group of people. Mm-hmm. And I just took it and posted it on my Facebook, and it was the only time that my Facebook was shut down for 24 hours.
Seriously?
24 hours. It wasn't incendiary. It wasn't aggressive. It wasn't inciting anything. It was a point. I just don't remember what it was, but it was the only time that my Facebook was shut down for 24 hours. I wish I could remember what it was, but I think it's just a problem, Akhi Irfan. And this is the injustices that we find are the normality in our society. And I am not a person who calls to sitting back and twiddling one's thumb and waiting for the Mahdi to come back to set things right. But the Prophet did say, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that when the Mahdi does come, he's going to fill up the earth with justice, just as it has been filled up with injustice. There are injustices all over the globe, and it comes in many colors, textures, and forms. And this is one of them. Mm-hmm. And those people who are truly woke and those people who are truly aware and they're looking, they cannot help but to see these glaring contradictions. Why is it okay for him to say all of what he was saying and everything was, fine and dandy? But as soon as he says what he has to say or what he wanted to say about that particular group, then okay, now JP Morgan won't do business with them, Adidas won't do business with them, this one and that won't do business with them because they don't tolerate anti-Semitism. But you tolerate racism towards African Americans, for an example. You tolerate, the double standards towards the Muslims. That problem that happened in Leicester and Birmingham recently, mm-hmm. with the far-right racist Hindus who initiated the drama and the problem. When it jumped off and it happened, well, the media, they were reporting it as if we were the troublemakers. And although we did have some of our community members who didn't respond to it with the deen and with wisdom and with justice, we had that. But what was the genesis of the whole problem? You people allowed that lady to come here knowing she's a far-right racist, a fascist. And you allowed her to come here knowing full well her ideology and her agenda. And that she's going to do here what they do over there in India. But again, the media comes and the media, they report it in a way that's slanted. And that's very important for us to remember, that whoever pays the piper, he's the one who's going to call the tune. Mm. Whoever pays the flute player or the band or the musician, he's the one who's going to determine what kind of music is going to be played. So if he wants classical music, that's what's going to be played. If he wants R&B, that's what's going to be played. And if he wants other than that, then that's what's going to happen. And that's something that the Prophet knew, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So what did he do? He called the people to